So I'm out in the woods today looking for black raspberries. I'll put the scientific name down on the bottom of the screen. But there are some of my favorite berries. They're not cultivated very much, and the ones that are go to processed foods, wines. There's a liquor that actually uses them. So it's kind of a rare treat. They're a little expensive if you do find them at the store or at the farmer's market. So if you find a bunch, you can definitely sell them there. There's lots of things you can do with them. You can make jams, muffins, jellies, wines. You can make your own like balsamic vinaigrette, like a raspberry vinaigrette's really good. Lots of things you can do with them. You can actually dry them, you can freeze them. They freeze really well, last a long time. So, now the black raspberries, they usually only grow in disturbed areas or on the edge of woods. So I'm here at a public wildlife area right on the side of the road. I was already here yesterday, so I had a little path cleared out where I saw a big patch of them. The reason they only grow in disturbed areas is they need full sunlight, but they don't grow super quick. So if there's too much competition, too much trees overhead, they're not going to do good. Right now they're ripe, they're ready to pick, so they're easy to find. But if it's still a little early, look for the leaves. They're pretty unmistakable. They look similar to blackberries, but the black raspberries are smaller and they got a slightly different flavor. And usually with blackberries they got a stem that's attached to them. It's not quite as easy to pick. Okay, so right here is a really good patch of the black raspberries. You'll see that when you find a bunch of the vines that they usually grow all together in a big patch. You're going to want to pick the ones that are really dark black or really dark purple. And when you pick them, they should fall right off the vine. If they struggle a little bit, you know they're not quite ripe. And when you pick them, you got to be really gentle. They squish really easily. So if you just gently grab around the base and roll it off, it should fall off. And inside it's a little hollow where it comes off at. Here's what I've found so far. This is maybe 20-25 minutes worth of work, which I enjoy it, so it's not a lot of work. But you can see some of them are still kind of pinkish, kind of red at the base. They're not going to be quite as sweet. They're not quite as ripe as the other ones. It's up to you whether you choose to pick those ones or not. If you're cooking these for jams or jelly, put them in pies, anything that you're going to be adding sugar, they'll be fine. You won't even notice. But if you're just if you're picking them just to eat fresh, or say you want to make a really good bottle of wine, I would sort them out later. Make sure to get ones that are only completely black, really dark. Those are going to be the softest and the sweetest. Other than pies, you can put them in muffins. They freeze really well. You can dry them. I have a dehydrator. I'm going to try that this year. I've never done it before. This is right around the time that they're going to be ripe. I'm in central Ohio. I don't know how seasons are in other places, but I assume they're similar. When you are out picking these berries, you're going to want to make sure to wear long pants. They like to grow along with other thorns, and of course they have thorns on them. They grow along nettles, poison ivy, different things like that. You might consider wearing a long sleeve shirt. It's a little bit warm out here today, so I chose to wear short sleeve, but you might get some nettles or maybe a couple scratches or something on your hand or wrist from picking them all day. But I think that's a small price to pay for these really delicious berries. So like I said, they grow along the edge of roads. Any place that has the edge of the woods where it's been mowed down, they're going to grow behind that. Along railroad tracks, along river banks, basically anywhere where there's not too much trees hanging over. Can't have too much shade or they're not going to grow very well. I don't know how it is everywhere, but here, as long as you're close to the edge of any public road, it's considered public land. I think it's like 10 feet, as long as you don't cross a fence line or anything like that. or if there's, no posted trespassing signs. So you should be good if you can find, any back roads, county roads that they're going to grow along. Should be pretty easy to find. Like I said, this is a wildlife area. It's, especially kept for hunting and things like that. You're allowed to take nuts, seeds, berries, things like that from a wildlife area here in Ohio. You're not allowed to take full plants or dig up roots or anything like that. And I try not to disturb the area too much. You can see where I was walking, there's a little bit of a path to make it easier for me to get to these berries, but try not to damage the area any. Also, if you want to go, if you know a friend that has maybe some good land, maybe ask them if they're not picking them. They're free food, they're great to eat, they last a while, they're super high in antioxidants, super healthy. Some say that they got more antioxidants than blueberries. I don't know whether that's true or not, but that's something I've heard. Now, if you do find a spot where you think, there's a bunch of berries, and you pick them all one day, I would say come back in another day, maybe 2 days, and all these ones that are pink or white, they'll be ripe in just a couple days. When it's sunny and rainy, they ripen up really quick. So I usually, when I find a good spot, I come back every 2 days until they stop producing, which sometimes will be a couple weeks. So just kind of depends on the weather, and birds and other things really like them. Deer, squirrels, they love these berries. Actually, around here in this area, when the berries are ripe because you'll start seeing pink bird poop everywhere. So, they enjoy it. So as you can see, my little container is quite full. Can't fit too many more in there. But I usually only keep a small container with me. And the simple reason I do that is in case I drop it, which I've learned that the hard way. A couple years ago, I had a great big bucket that I carried with me as I was picking the berries, and slipped and fell in the wet grass. Ended up dumping all my berries. It was not a good day. So the way I do it now, this little tip I use, is just carry a little bowl or cup with you, and then leave your big bucket either on the side of the road or in your car, and you can dump it out every time it's filled up. And not only does it make it in case you spill them, but it's a lot lighter to carry around. Also, another reason you're not going to want to use a great big bucket that's really deep is, like I said, when the berries are fully ripe, they're very fragile. So if you stack too many berries up in a big container, the ones on bottom are just going to be juice, which is okay if you're going to juice them or making smoothies, something like that, but I like to keep them whole. They freeze a lot nicer, last a lot longer. So if you got a big, shallow container, maybe only stack them up a couple inches deep. That would work a lot better. So a couple other places you might find them are along fields where they grow corn or soybeans or whatever like that. They usually keep it mowed down along the edges of corn. But I usually don't pick them from these places. Most farmers around here aren't organic farmers. They use lots of pesticides, Roundup, stuff like that I wouldn't want on my berries. So I would say if that's your only option, there's literally no other place for you to pick berries, I would go for it and just wash them off really well. But your best bet is to find a place where it's not many people around, not much pollution. That's another problem if you're just picking them on the side of the road. They might be sprayed with all car exhaust fumes if it's a busy road. They grow along ponds usually. Like I said, anywhere where it's been disturbed. If there's been a fire, I would say a couple years ago, they tend to grow over where it burned down. The best place to be able to find them would be ideally on your own land. If that's not an option, which I don't have the room for them right now, so that's not an option for me. But if it was your own land or maybe a friend's land and you got permission, then I would help them out, and you can do that by pulling other weeds back, keeping it mowed in front of it so grass and other weeds and plants and stuff don't overgrow it. As far as parks go, you might want to look into it, but most like state parks, you're not allowed to remove anything from them. So like no berries or plants or anything like that. But if you have a wildlife extension, you can call and maybe ask around, ask your friends, neighbors, if they know of any public land where you're allowed to take stuff from. One thing that you're not going to want to do is wash them, unless you're going to eat them right away. The reason you're not going to want to wash them is they go bad really quick once you do. Like I said, if you're going to eat them right away, then go ahead and put them in a colander or a strainer in your sink, something. Rinse them off really good with cool water. But if you're going to freeze them, if you're going to eat them in a couple days, don't wash them right away. Just put them in an airtight container or a Ziploc baggie. I prefer Tupperware containers, so that way I know they're not going to get smushed. And I would say they can last maybe a week. 2 weeks would be pushing it if you just put them in the fridge and they're fully ripe. If you have more than that, you're going to want to freeze them. Don't just put them in a container and freeze them how they are, or you'll end up with one big block of raspberries. You're going to want to lay them out on a tray first for at least 20 minutes, and then you can put them in a container or a freezer bag, so that way they don't all freeze together. If you're not going to eat them all right away, and you don't want to freeze them, there's a couple other options. You can dry them out if you have a dehydrator. I've never personally done that. I think I'm going to try it this year. So then once they're dry, you can use them in recipes, maybe muffins or granola bars, cereal, stuff like that would be pretty good. I would suggest giving some away. You know, there's not a lot of people. I was surprised to find out how many people have never even tried a black raspberry. So friends, family, neighbors, you know, see what they think, see if they like them. Farmer's market, you can sell some, or, you know, give them away there too. I'm all about sharing if I have extra.